A wave of dull pain rose in my lower abdomen as I gritted my teeth and leaned against the hospital's cold wall, tightly clutching the pregnancy test report I had just received. 6 weeks pregnant. The arrival of this little life once seemed like salvation, but now it appears to be merely the start of another joke. I waited 3 hours, from dawn until the sun stood high, and what I awaited was not my husband Fu Jingshan's concern, but a call from his assistant saying he would accompany Bai Ruozi for a checkup and had no time to tend to me. Bai Ruozi, the woman who has occupied all of his tenderness, who even a minor cold can cause him to drop everything and rush to her side, and I, carrying his flesh and blood, endured the discomfort and sorrow alone in the hospital, unable to even see his face. What's more ironic is that yesterday I accidentally sprained my ankle. I walked with a limp. He clearly saw, yet he still turned around without hesitation and gave all his attention to Bai Ruozi. I once believed that marriage would keep his heart warm, but after 3 years, all I received was endless neglect and coldness. This time, I'm not waiting, nor am I hoping. From the moment he chose to turn toward another woman when I needed his company the most, the two of us were done. I barely supported my body as I moved back step by step toward our marital home, this place I once carefully arranged, believing it would be filled with happiness, now only holds a look of cold emptiness. On the coffee table in the living room, there's a wine glass from last night that Fu Jingshan didn't finish, and next to it there's a strand of hair that doesn't belong to me. No need to guess, it's Bai Ruoshi's. My heart aches as if pricked by needles, yet more than that, it is numb. I walked into the bedroom, opened the bottommost suitcase in the wardrobe, and stuffed my clothes in piece by piece. Each garment once carried my hopes, but now it only feels obstructive, just as I was. Halfway through tidying up, I heard the door lock turn. Fu Jingshan was back. I didn't look back, continuing to tidy up, my movements as calm as if I were packing someone else's belongings. Fu Jingshan's voice came ice cold, laced with a hint of impatience. If you're not staying at the hospital, what are you coming back for? I finally stopped moving, turned to look at him. He was wearing a well-tailored suit, his hair neatly combed, but there was a trace of fatigue between his brows, perhaps because he had been taking care of Bai Ruoshi. I tugged at the corner of my mouth, forcing a smile that was uglier than crying. Fu Jingshan, do you remember what day today is? He frowned, clearly unable to recall. What day? If Ruoshi isn't feeling well today, I don't have time to waste with you. Today is the day I scheduled a prenatal examination. I threw the pregnancy test order in front of him. I'm pregnant. 6 weeks along. Fu Jingshan's gaze fell on the prenatal test form, his pupils contracting slightly, seemingly a bit surprised, but the surprise didn't last long. He regained his cold indifference. Just being pregnant, what's the big deal? Have Madame Zhang accompany you to the checkup. It's enough. Why insist on waiting for me? Is that all you've got? I raised my voice, the grievances and anger accumulated over 3 years bursting out in this moment. Fu Jingshan, this is also your child. I twisted my ankle yesterday and can hardly walk. I waited for you at the hospital for 3 hours, and you were with Bai Ruoshi. She's just got a cold, and you threw me, your wife who is carrying your child, to the back of your mind. Is your heart made of stone? Have you had enough causing a scene? Fu Jingshan's face grew sour, his tone full of disdain. Ruoshi is frilier than you. Stop this nonsense and hurry back to the hospital, or I'll remind you again. I won't go back, I said firmly. Fu Jingshan, let's get a divorce. What did you say? Fu Jingshan seemed to hear the biggest joke in the world. Divorce? Mu Chenhuan, don't think you can threaten me with divorce. I tell you, it's impossible. Fu Jingshan looked at the divorce agreement, his gaze turning icy and piercing. Mu Chenhuan, you better think this through. If you leave me, Fu Jingshan, you will be nothing. Even if I have nothing, I'd rather not stay by your side and endure grievances. I no longer looked at him, continuing to pack my things. I've already signed the agreement. Whenever you want to sign, have your assistant contact me. From today onward, I will never step foot in this home again. At that moment, Fu Jingshan's phone rang, and the screen flashed 2 characters, Ruoshi. He glanced at me, picked up the call without hesitation, and his tone instantly softened to an extreme gentleness. Ruoshi, what's wrong? Is something uncomfortable? Okay, I'll be there right away. You wait for me patiently. Hang up the phone. He didn't even glance at me, picked up his coat and walked out, leaving only a cold line. Do whatever you want. The door slammed shut heavily. cutting off the last thread of contact between us. I couldn't hold it in any longer and crouched on the ground crying, not because I was reluctant, but because my 3 years of ardent devotion had been misplaced. I cried for about 10 minutes, wiped away my tears, stood up, and picked up the packed suitcase. Since I had decided to leave, I could not be weak again. I walked to the foyer, glancing one last time at the home that once filled me with fantasies, then resolutely walked out. Sunshine fell on me, but it couldn't dispel the cold in my heart. But I knew from today on, I would live for myself and for the child in my belly. Fu Jingshan, by Ruwashi, what you owe me, I will repay, sooner or later, piece by piece. As soon as I stepped out of the community gate, I saw Fu Jingshan's car speeding away. Needless to say, surely to be with Ruwashi, I sneered, hailed a taxi, and gave him an address. It was a small apartment I had saved up for myself, not big, but enough for me and my child to settle down and live. Arriving at the apartment, I set the suitcase aside and sank tiredly onto the sofa. The dull ache in my lower abdomen persisted. I gently caressed my belly and whispered, "Baby, I'm sorry for letting you suffer with me. From now on, Mom will protect you well and not let you be harmed." In the slightest. At that moment, my phone rang. It was a nurse from the hospital. The nurse said in a hurry, "Miss Mu, something's wrong. Mr. Fu just called us and asked whether you're still in the hospital. We told him you had left a long time ago. He seems very angry and asked where you went." I scoffed softly. "What does his anger have to do with me? You don't need to worry about him. Nor do you need to give him my contact information." The nurse hesitated for a moment and said, "But Miss Mu, Mr. Fu seems very anxious and said he wants to come find you. Whether he can find it or not is his business and none of mine." After I spoke, I hung up directly. What use is it for Fu Jingshan to be anxious now, when he abandoned me back then? Why didn't he think about today? I turned off my phone, not wanting to be disturbed by any messages from Fu Jingshan anymore. I walked to the window and looked at the bustling street outside. My gaze grew firm. 5 years. I gave myself 5 years. After 5 years, I would definitely come back with my child, with a brand new attitude. By then, I would make Fu Jingshan and Ruwashi pay a painful price for what they did today. I started tidying up the apartment, hanging each piece of clothing into the wardrobe, and arranging the daily necessities neatly. This small space, though simple, gave me a long-lost sense of peace. In the evening, I cooked a little meal and forced myself to eat a bit. For the sake of my child, I must take good care of myself. 5 years is not long, yet not short either. It is enough to transform a weak woman from within, and enough for those who once hurt me to forget themselves. The plane landed steadily at Cloudsea City International Airport, and I held the small hand beside me. Stepping down the air stairs one by one, sunlight streamed through the glass dome, warming and dazzling the two of us, the me and the 5-year-old boy beside me. "Mom, is this the Yunhai city you talked about?" The little boy tilted his chubby face, his obsidian-like eyes curiously taking in the surroundings, his voice soft and crisp. "He is Nyanshan, my baby, and my only spiritual support these 5 years." I crouched down and gently petted his soft hair, a tender yet firm smile lifting the corners of my mouth. "Yes, Nyan, this is Mom's hometown. We came back not only to live, but to take back everything that belongs to us." Nyan nodded, seemingly understanding, his small hand tightly gripping mine. "Don't worry, Mom, Nyan is a boy now. I'll protect Mom." Looking at his earnest little face, a warm current flooded my chest. These 5 years abroad have not been easy. I've raised the child while desperately learning business knowledge, starting from the most basic employee and climbing step by step to my current position. Now, I am no longer the bindweed that clung to Fu Jingshan, but the mysterious big shot Yi Huan, who holds the multinational group Night Shadow Group in his hands and has made a name for himself in the business world. This name alone is enough to make countless companies tremble in fear internationally. The front desk said, "The car is already waiting for you outside." A man in a black suit with a tall, upright figure stepped quickly toward us, bowing respectfully. "He is my personal assistant, Qin Feng, who has followed me for many years, capable and aware of all my past." I stood up, nodding slightly. "You've worked hard, Qin Feng. Take the villa first." "Yes." Qin Feng took the suitcase from my hand, carefully guarding it by our side, avoiding the crowded people around us. As we stepped out of the airport, a black Rolls-Royce Phantom quietly stopped by the roadside, low-key yet luxurious. Chin Feng opened the door, and I carried Nian Nian inside. The car's interior space was spacious, and Nian Nian pressed excitedly against the window, watching the rapidly rushing street scenes outside, her little mouth constantly asking questions. I leaned back in the seat, closed my eyes, and the scene from 5 years ago when I left surfaces in my mind. Fu Jingshan's coldness, by Ruashi's pride, and old Mrs. Fu's taunts, each moment as vivid as yesterday. Over these years, I have not forgotten the hatred for a single moment. Now, I am back. It is time for them to pay the price. Mom, are we going to see that bad dad? Nan Nan suddenly turns her head, a hint of caution on her small face. Over the years, I have not hidden his background. I simply told him that his father is a bad man who once hurt Mom. I open my eyes and take his small hand in mine. We may see him, but Nan Nan, don't be afraid. Mom will protect you. Also, we're not here to meet him, we're here to take back what belongs to us. Nan Nan nods as if understanding and leans back by the car window. After driving for about half an hour, the car stops in front of a luxurious villa perched on the hillside in the city center. This was a property I deliberately bought before returning to the country. Vast view, tight security, and most importantly, not far from the Fu Group, convenient for my next plan, nightclub. This is the key to the villa. Chin Feng handed over a bunch of keys. The interiors have been prepared according to your requirements, and little Nian Nian's children's room has also been renovated. Good, you are thoughtful. I took the keys, carrying Nian Nian as we walked into the villa. The villa's interior is simple and grand, yet every detail exudes luxury. Beyond the floor-to-ceiling windows in the living room is an endless view of the city nightscape, breathtaking. Nian Nian burst into excitement the moment we entered, running around in the living room. Wow, Mom, this place is so big and so pretty. I smiled at him. If you like it, then good. From now on, this will be our home. Right at that moment, my phone rang. It was Chin Feng calling. I picked up and said, hello. Chin Feng's voice came through the line. Night General. I just received news that the Fu Group will hold a business reception tomorrow evening, inviting all the upper-class figures in Yunhai City. Fu Jingshan and Bai Ruashi will both attend, and even the elderly Madame Fu will be there. Oh, I raised an eyebrow, a cold smile curling at the corner of my mouth. Perfect timing. Notify them that the Night Shadow Group will send people to attend this cocktail party. Yes, Night General, do you want to attend in person? Of course, I said firmly. I will go meet them myself. After so many years apart, it's time they got to know who I am now. After hanging up, I walked to the window and looked out at the night view. Fu Jingshan, by Ruashi, Grandmother Fu, tomorrow night, we should meet. I'm curious to see what expression will cross their faces when they see the me of today. Mom, what are you thinking? Nian Nian ran over to me and wrapped his arms around my leg. I bent down and picked him up, kissing his chubby little face. Mom is thinking that tomorrow we'll take Nian Nian to a fun place. Really? What a fun place is it, Nian? Nian's eyes brightened. A place where you can see a lot of people. I smiled. When the time comes, Nian Nian, you must be well behaved and stay by your mom. Okay, okay. Nian Nian nodded vigorously, her small face full of anticipation. In the evening, after I finished giving Nian Nian a bath and lulled him to sleep, I went to the study. Chin Feng had already sent the latest information about the Fu Group to my email. I opened the computer and carefully browsed the material. In the past 5 years, under Fu Jingshan's leadership, the Fu Group has indeed developed well, becoming one of the leading enterprises in Yunhai City, but among them, there are also some violations and gray area deals, and Bai Ruashi, as she wished, married into the Fu family and became the enviable Mrs. Fu, but she had not had a child. I let out a cold laugh. Fu Jingshan, you think marrying Bai Ruashi will bring you happiness? What you owe me, what you owe Nian Nian. I will go back little by little, with interest, and reclaim it all. I opened an encrypted folder, containing all the dirty secrets about the Fu family and Bai Ruashi that I've collected over the years. These are my weapons of revenge. After finishing the materials, it was already late at night. I stretched and walked to the window. Moonlight poured over me, gilding me with a silver halo. I knew that tomorrow's party would be the first step in my revenge plan. I must be fully prepared, with no room for error. The next morning, after breakfast with Nian Nian, Chin Feng delivered The prepared dress. My dress was a black mermaid gown that outlined a perfect body curve, with a few embedded at the neckline, understated yet luxurious. Wearing the dress and applying a delicate makeup, I looked at myself in the mirror. The woman in the mirror had a sharp gaze and a powerful aura, no longer the weakness and humiliation of 5 years ago. "Mom, you're so beautiful." Nyen Nyen ran to my side. Tilting her small face in awe, I crouched down and tidied up his little suit's collar. Nyen Nyen is quite handsome too. Nyen Nyen wore a white little suit, like a little gentleman, incredibly adorable. At 6 in the afternoon, Qin Feng drove us to the hotel hosting the Fusher Group's cocktail party. At the hotel entrance, a variety of luxury cars were already parked, with perfumed fragrances and clinking glasses everywhere. Fu Jingshan and Bai Ruoxi stood at the door to greet the guests. A match made in heaven in looks, they were a perfect pair. Bai Ruoxi wore a pink gown, arm with Fu Jingshan, a shy and coy smile on her face. Fu Jingshan was dressed in a black suit, tall and upright, though a hint of fatigue was barely noticeable between his brows. I held Nyen Nyen's hand and, with Qin Feng by my side, walked over slowly. The surrounding guests stopped in their tracks, curiously eyeing us. After all, the mysterious CEO of the Night Shadow Group, Yi Huan, rarely makes public appearances. Fu Jingshan and Bai Ruoxi also noticed us. Fu Jingshan's gaze fell on me. With a trace of doubt, obviously, he no longer recognizes me. After all, 5 years have changed me so much, from a timorous housewife to a powerful business magnate with a commanding presence. Bai Ruoxi looked me up and down, her eyes containing a hint of jealousy and wariness. She could sense that the aura surrounding this woman was far stronger than hers. A faint smile tugged at the corner of my mouth as I paused in front of them. Qin Feng stepped forward and, with proper courtesy, introduced. President Fu, Mrs. Fu, this is Ms. Yi Huan, the president of the Night Shadow Group. Fu Jingshan heard the words Night Shadow Group and his pupils slightly contracted. Clearly having heard of the name, he reached out his hand, a hint of a formal smile on his face. "Mr. Yi, I've heard of you for a long time. Welcome to the Fu Group's banquet." I did not take his hand, only looked at him calmly, my tone cold. "Mr. Fu, a pleasure to meet you." My attitude made Fu Jingshan a little awkward. He retracted his hand, and the doubt in his eyes grew thicker. He always felt that the woman in front of him carried an inexplicable familiarity, yet he couldn't quite remember where he had met her. Bai Ruoxi, seeing this, stepped forward eagerly, tightening her arm around Fu Jingshan's, and smiled coyly. "Mr. Yi is truly young and capable. I wonder if Mr. Yi would be interested in collaborating with our Fu Group." I shot her a glance, the smile at the corner of my mouth carrying a trace of ridicule. "Cooperation, Mrs. Fu. I have little interest in the Fu Group." My words froze. Bai Ruoxi's smile on her face, and Fu Jingshan's expression also darkened. The surrounding guests, seeing this scene, began to whisper amongst themselves. Obviously, they hadn't expected that the president of the Night Shadow Group would show such disrespect to the Fu family. I ignored their reactions, taking Nyen Nyen's hand and walking straight into the cocktail party. Behind me, Fu Jingshan and Bai Ruoxi's faces grew even more unpleasant. I could feel Fu Jingshan's gaze following me all along, filled with doubt and inquiry. I know he has started to suspect, but that's not enough. What I want is to make him completely collapse. This cocktail party is only the beginning. Next, I will let them lose everything they have little by little, just as they did to me back then, leading Nyan into the wine party venue. The melodious waltz flowed by my ears. Crystal chandeliers refracted brilliant light, reflecting the fake smiles on everyone's faces. I swept my eyes across the room, observing the surrounding situation out of the corner of my eye, already making calculations in my mind. "Night President, I didn't expect you to come in person." A middle-aged man in a gray suit with a slightly protruding belly hurried over, his face full of obsequious smiles, extending a hand proactively. "I'm Wang, General Manager of Huntong Group. I've wanted to cooperate with you for a long time. I don't know if you have time to chat." I gave a slight nod, shaking hands with him in a symbolic manner, speaking in a calm tone. "Mr. Wang, you're too kind for the cooperation. Have my assistant contact you later." Good. Mr. Wang hurriedly nodded, his eyes filled with excitement. "Then I won't disturb you. Please, take your ease." Mr. Wang had just left when a few more business tycoons swarmed over, one after another handing me their business cards, hoping to form a partnership With the Night Shadow group, I remained calm and composed, every gesture exuding executive prowess. The surrounding guests, upon witnessing this scene, looked at me with awe and curiosity. Fu Jingxin and Bai Ruoxi stood not far away, watching me be surrounded by the crowd, their expressions turning extremely unpleasant. Bai Ruoxi clenched her fists tightly, jealousy flashing in her eyes almost overflowing. She had believed that at today's banquet, she would be the most attention-grabbing woman, but she didn't expect that I would steal the spotlight. Fu Jingxin's gaze had been fixed on me all along, his brows knitted, muttering to himself, Yi Huan, this name, and this face, so familiar. Jingxin, what are you thinking? Bai Ruoxi hooked her arm around his, her voice carrying a hint of coquettishness. It's just a woman who's got a bit of money, what's there to be so amazed at? Fu Jingxin paid no attention to her, his gaze still fixed on me. He always felt that I and Mu Qinghuan, who was abandoned by him 5 years ago, had some connection, but he couldn't quite say what it resembled. After all, I now am a completely different person from the timid woman back then. I noticed Fu Jingxin's gaze, and a sardonic smile curved at the corner of my mouth. Want to recognize me? Not that easy. I will make him feel a sense of despair little by little amid confusion and unease. Mom, that bad woman has been looking at us the whole time. Nian Nian pulled my hand and whispered, his eyes filled with a tinge of disgust. He was referring to Bai Ruoxi. I patted his head and whispered, ignore her, let's go over there and get something to eat. I led Nian Nian to the edge of the serving area, picked up a delicate little cake, and handed it to her. At that moment, Bai Ruoxi suddenly walked over and deliberately bumped into me. The cake in my hand dropped to the floor, and the cream splashed onto my black gown. Oh dear, night manager, I'm really sorry. Bai Ruoxi's face wore a fake, contrived apology, but her eyes were full of pride. It wasn't on purpose, it's all because I walked too carelessly. The surrounding guests looked over, and discussions broke out. Some thought Bai Ruoxi did it on purpose, others thought I was just unlucky. Seeing this, Nian Nian immediately stepped in front of me, tilted her little face up, and angrily said to the white girl, you did it on purpose, you want to bully my mom. Bai Ruoxi was startled by the feigned momentum of Nian Nian, then immediately returned to her arrogant demeanor, sneering, kids these days, what do you know? Move aside, how dare you threaten my son? My eyes cooled, and my voice turned sharp. I took out a tissue, gently wiping the cream from the dress, an elegant movement, but with a strong sense of oppression. Yazong, I told you I didn't mean it. Bai Ruoxi forced a calm smile. If anything, I'll compensate you with a new dress. Compensate? I sneered. Can you afford that? This dress is a global limited edition, worth 880 million. I had it custom made by a designer. Do you think you have the means to compensate? Hearing the words 8,880,000, Bai Ruoxi's face instantly turned deathly pale. Although she was Mrs. Fu and usually spent money freely, producing that much money all at once was still a bit difficult for her. The surrounding guests were stunned as well, gasping in unison. A wedding dress worth 8 million. That was simply an astronomical price, in their eyes. There was now even more awe directed toward me. You are deliberately insulting me. Bai Ruoxi grit her teeth, her eyes full of unwillingness. Are you kidding me? I took out my phone, opened the photo gallery, and there were photos of me with the designer, along with the custom dress contract. I have evidence here that can prove the value of this dress at any time. If you don't believe me, we can file a police report now and let the police judge. Bai Ruoxi looked at the evidence on my phone, and her face grew paler by the moment. She knew she had stepped on a landmine today. At that moment, Fu Jingxin walked over. He saw the cream on my evening dress, and then glanced at Bai Ruoxi's pallid face, and immediately understood what had happened. He frowned and said to me, Yi Zong, this is on Ruoxi. I'll apologize to you on her behalf. I'll cover the cost of the dress. Mr. Fu is indeed generous, I said lightly, but I don't need your compensation. I just want to tell Mrs. Fu that not everyone can be bullied at will. In the future, when you walk, it's best to look where you're going, so you don't accidentally hit someone you shouldn't. My words had a pointed meaning, and Fu Jingxin's expression darkened. He knew I was deliberately targeting Bai Ruoxi, and also going after him. Mom, this bad woman not only bullies you but also wants to snatch Dad. Nian Nian suddenly spoke, not loud, but enough for the surrounding guests to hear. The sentence was like a bomb exploding in the crowd. The guests were stunned, all turning to look at Fu Jingshan, by Ruashi, and me, their eyes full of gossip and scrutiny. Fu Jingshan's pupils suddenly contracted, looking at Nian Nian in disbelief. What did you just say? Bai Ruashi was even more flustered, quickly saying, children talk nonsense, don't believe him, I'm not talking nonsense. Nian Nian lifted her small face and spoke seriously. Mom said, my daddy originally belonged to Mom, it was this bad woman who stole Daddy and even drove Mom away. The surrounding guests' chatter grew louder. The gazes they cast at Fu Jingshan and Bai Ruashi were full of contempt and disdain. So this so-called deep affection for Mr. Fu was all fake. He actually abandoned his first wife and married such a calculating and scheming woman. Fu Jingshan's expression turned extremely ugly. He glared at Bai Ruashi, then spoke to me. Ms. Children don't understand things. They say things carelessly. Don't mind them, my son wouldn't say such things carelessly, I said firmly. Mr. Fu, some things, once done, are done, you can't deny them. Just then, Qin Feng walked over and whispered in my ear, Night Manager, Madame Fu is here. I looked in the direction Qin Feng pointed and saw an elderly woman in a bright red cheongsam with snowy white hair, slowly entering amidst a crowd. She was Madame Fu, Fu Jingshan's mother. Back then, she was also strongly opposed to my being with Fu Jingshan and often gave me a hard time. Madame Fu's gaze soon settled on me. When she saw my face, a flicker of surprise flashed in her eyes, then it cooled again. She walked up to me, sizing me up from head to toe, and spoke with a biting tone. Who are you? Why are you here causing trouble with a child? Grand Madam, this is Nightjoy, president of the Night Shadow Group. Fu Jingshan hurriedly stepped forward to introduce, hoping to ease the awkwardness. Night Shadow Group, old Mrs. Fu frowned, clearly unfamiliar with the name. What is some fly-by-night company to come to our Fu family's banquet? Hearing old Mrs. Fu's words, the surrounding guests all sucked in a breath. They did not expect that old Mrs. Fu would be so ungracious, daring to speak so to the president of the Night Shadow Group. One should know that the Night Shadow Group is far more powerful internationally than the Fu Group. I let out a cold sneer, my tone icy as I said, Old Mrs. You'd better mind your words. Whether the Night Shadow Group is a fly-by-night company isn't something you decide. As for the Fu family, I think you're nothing special. It's the sons who are taught badly, snatching others' wives, and the daughters-in-law who are spoiled and bullying people. It's truly bad upstream and rotten downstream. How dare you, old Mrs. Fu trembled with anger, pointing at me. You dare to speak about our Fu family like that? Jingshan, throw her out for me. Fu Jingshan stood still, hesitating. He knew I was not someone to be trifled with. If you really drove me out and offended the Night Shadow Group, it would be a catastrophe for the Fu Group. President Fu, it seems your Fu family doesn't welcome me. I spoke evenly. Since that's the case, there's no need for me to stay here. Qin Feng, let's go. Yes, Night President. Qin Feng nodded, shielding me and Nian Nian. I held Nian Nian's hand and turned to leave. When I reached the door, I stopped and looked back at Fu Jingshan coldly. President Fu, remember this disgrace today. We will meet again. After finishing, I walked straight out of the hotel. Behind me, the angry scolding from old Mrs. Fu, the guests' murmurs, and Fu Jingshan's heavy breathing mingled together, forming a beautiful melody. Sitting in the car, Nian Nian leaned in my arms and whispered, Mom, did I do well today? Did I help you? I held him and planted a kiss on his little face, smiling. Nian Nian did very well. You are Mom's little hero. Nian Nian grinned proudly. From now on, I'll also help Mom deal with those bad guys. I touched his head, and my gaze grew firm. At today's cocktail party, I not only successfully gave Fu Jingshan and Bai Ruashi a warning, but also shamed the Fu family in the business world of Yunhai City. This is just the first step of my revenge plan. Next, I will make them pay a heavier price. Qin Feng looked at me and said respectfully, Night Boss, Fu Group's stock price has already started to fall just now. It seems today's events have had a significant impact on Fu Group. This is only the beginning, I sneered coldly. Issue orders to begin buying Fu Group's shares from early tomorrow morning. I want Fu Jingshan to hand Fu Group over to me, with his own hands. Yes, Night Boss. Qin Feng nodded, immediately pulled out his phone, and began to arrange the work. The car slowly pulled away from the hotel. I leaned against the seat and closed my eyes. Images of Fu Jingshan and Bai Ruashi's miserable appearances flashed through my mind, along with old Mrs. Fu trembling with anger. A sense of satisfaction rose in my The day after the banquet, early in the morning, I had just finished breakfast with Nian Nian when the villa's doorbell rang urgently. Qin Feng went to open the door, and not long after, he returned with a frown, lowering his voice. Night manager, old Mrs. Fu has arrived with a group of people. It doesn't look friendly. I set down the milk cup in my hand, a cold smile curving at the corner of my mouth. I knew it well. Old Mrs. Fu would not let this go easily, losing face so publicly at the banquet yesterday. She would surely come to retake the stage today. Let her in, I said flatly, not putting her in my eyes at all. Soon, Madame Fu, accompanied by a few bodyguards in black suits and a middle-aged woman dressed in extravagant jewelry, swaggered in. That middle-aged woman was Madame Zhang, Fu Lao's personal housekeeper, who had also joined Madame Fu in snubbing me back then. As soon as Madame Fu stepped inside, she looked around the villa's decorations with jealousy and disdain in her eyes. She walked to the center of the living room, paused, looking down on me, and spoke with a sharp, condescending tone. Yi Huan, is it? I didn't expect an outsider like you to be able to live in such a good villa in Yunhai City. I think this money probably didn't come clean, did it? I beg your pardon, old lady. What do you mean by that? I leaned on the sofa, glancing at her lightly. Whether my money is clean or not isn't for you to decide, but you, breaking into someone's home with a whole group of people, isn't that a bit disrespectful to the law? Breaking into someone's home, Madame Fu sneered coldly. I think you're feeling guilty, aren't you? Yesterday at the banquet, you brought that wild seed and deliberately smeared our Fu family's reputation. Today I'm here to seek an explanation. Who do you think is the wild type? My gaze turned cold, and my tone instantly became sharp. Nian Nian is my absolute. No one should insult him. Nian Nian was also provoked by Madame Fu's words. She jumped off the sofa, stood in front of me, raised her small face, and said angrily, You wicked old woman, you're not allowed to curse me. I'm not a wild thing. How dare you retort? Madame Fu raised her hand, ready to strike Nian Nian in the face. With swift reflexes, I grabbed her wrist and twisted it forcefully. Madame Fu let out a cry of pain, ouch, and her face instantly turned pale. Madame Fu, I warn you. My son is off limits to you. I spoke in a cold tone. If you dare lay a finger on him again, I'll make sure you eat through a straw. You dare lay hands on me. Madame Fu trembled in pain, pointing at me. Aunt Zhang, have the bodyguards grab her for me. I want her to know that our Fu family isn't to be messed with. Aunt Zhang immediately exchanged a glance with the bodyguards behind her, and several bodyguards rushed toward me. Seeing this, Qin Feng stepped in front of me and Nian Nian, his eyes wary as he watched them. I'd advise you not to act rashly, Qin Feng said in a cold tone. This is Knight's private villa. The security system here is internationally top tier. If you dare to make a move here, you'll bear the consequences yourself. The bodyguards hesitated for a moment and came to a halt. They could tell that Qin Feng was not to be trifled with, and the security of this villa was indeed tight. If they acted, they might not gain any advantage. Old Mrs. Fu, seeing the bodyguards hesitate, stomped in anger. You bunch of useless fools, you can't even handle one woman. Old madam, it's not that we won't act, it's that the situation here is too complicated. A bodyguard whispered. Complicated? I say you are just cowardly and troublesome. Old Mrs. Fu roared. Today I must make this woman pay the price. She broke free from my grip, straightened her cheongsam, and walked up to me, sneering coldly. Knight Huan, you think you can swagger around Yunhai City just because you have a few measly coins? Let me tell you, our Fu family has rooted in Yunhai City for decades, and you outsiders can't compare. Yesterday you made our Fu family lose face. Today I will have you pay back double. Oh, I raised my eyebrow. I wonder how the old madam wants me to repay double. It's very simple, Madame Fu said. First, you must publicly apologize to our Fu family and clarify that yesterday's wild talk was all false. Second, you must transfer 30% of the shares of the Night Shadow Group that you hold to our Fu group. Third, you must immediately leave Yuntai City and never return. After listening to Mrs. Fu, I couldn't help but laugh. That old lady is really full of fantasies. Public apology, transfer of shares, leave Yunhai City. Who does she think she is? Old madam, are you getting old? Is your brain muddled? I smiled and said, I won't agree to any of your 3 conditions, and I must tell you, what Nian Nian said yesterday is true. When Fu Jingxin abandoned me years ago and married by Ruashi, I will make sure everyone in Yunhai City knows about it. You dare? Old Madame Fu trembled with anger. If you dare to do this, I will have the Fu group use all resources to block you in your Night Shadow group. I will make you have no foothold in Yunhai City, and even nationwide. Block me, I sneered. Old madam, do you think too highly of the Fu Group? With just the Fu Group, they don't have the ability to block me. On the contrary, if I wanted the Fu Group to go bankrupt, I only need to move a finger. I took out my phone, opened a file, and handed it to old Madame Fu. Read it yourself. This is what I had Qin Feng collect yesterday. The Fu Group's years of illegal operations and shady deals. As long as I hand these evidences to the relevant departments, the Fu Group will completely collapse in less than 3 days. Madame Fu accepted the phone with half belief and began to study it carefully. As she looked more, her face grew paler, and her hands started to tremble uncontrollably. The evidence on the phone was very detailed, including a slew of illegal activities by the Fu Group such as tax evasion, malicious competition, and bribery of officials, each one enough to bring the Fu Group to ruin. How did you get this evidence? Lady Fu trembled as she spoke, fear filling her eyes. She could never have imagined that this woman was so formidable, capable of gathering so many core secrets of the Fu Group. You don't have to worry about this. I took back my phone, speaking calmly. I just want to tell you not to mess with me, otherwise, I will make the Fu family pay a painful price. Aunt Zhang, seeing this, hurriedly stepped forward to support Lady Fu and whispered, Madam, let's go first. This woman is too formidable. We can't defeat her. Grandma Fu also knew that today she had hit a hard wall. If this woman really handed over the evidence, the Fu Group would be finished. She clenched her teeth, glaring at me fiercely. Yi Huan, you just wait. Our Fu family won't let this go just like that. I'm waiting, I said softly, but I advise you to first take care of your Fu family yourselves. The Fu Group's stock price has already fallen quite a bit yesterday. If something else happens, I'm afraid it will be beyond hope. Madame Fu's face changed color, and she dared not stay any longer. She turned and headed outside. Aunt Zhang and the bodyguards also hurried after them, like a stray dog, fleeing in a desperate state, watching their disappearing backs. Nyanyan ran to my side, lifting her small face with pride and said, Mom, you're amazing. That nasty old lady was scared away by you. I picked up Nian Nian and gave a kiss on his little face, smiling. Of course, Mom promised you that I would protect you. Qin Feng walked up to me and spoke respectfully. Knight Master, do you need me to assign someone to watch over Madame Fu and the others, to prevent them from making any more moves? No need. I shook my head. Let them make trouble. The more vigorously they stir things up, the more it will expose their stupidity. Our current top priority is to continue acquiring shares of the Fu Group. I want Fu Jingchen to taste what it feels like to be betrayed and left with nothing as soon as possible. Understood, Knight Master. Qin Feng nodded. I've arranged it already. Based on the current progress, we'll soon hold 20% of the Fu Group's shares. Very well, I nodded in satisfaction. Speed up the progress. Also, go collect some black material about Bai Ruashi. I want her and Fu Jingchen to ruin each other's reputation together. I understand, Qin Feng replied, then turned and went downstairs to arrange the work. I walked to the window with Nian Nian in my arms, watching the sunlight outside. Mrs. Fu's provocation today not only did not frighten me, but it strengthened my resolve for revenge even more. The Fu family people are all so selfish, mean, and arrogant. The things they did to me back then, I will take back, bit by bit, one by one. Just then, my phone rang. It was from an unfamiliar number. I hesitated for a moment, then answered. On the other end of the line, a voice both familiar and unfamiliar came through. Is this Nightjoy nightclub? I'm Fu Jingchen. Hearing Fu Jingchen's voice, my eyes chilled. He finally couldn't help but take the initiative to call me. President Fu, is there something you need? I said in a calm, flat tone, as if I were talking to a stranger. Nightclub. Yesterday's matter. It was my mother's fault. I apologize to you on her behalf. Fu Jingchen's tone carried a trace of apology. Also, about that child, is he really my son? I let out a cold, dry laugh. As expected, what he cares about most is still Nian Nian's identity. President Fu, what do you think? I didn't answer his question directly, but asked in return. A child who looks almost exactly like you, and who is precisely 5 years old. Who do you think he is the son of? On the other end of the phone, Fu Jing paused in silence, after a long while. His voice pricked with hoarseness. Yi Huan, are you, Mu Qinghuan? Finally, he recognized me. The corner of my mouth curled into a sardonic smile. President Fu, is it perhaps too late for you to realize it now? It really is you. Fu Fu Jingshan's voice was full of shock and disbelief. Chenhuan, where have you been all these years? Why didn't you tell me? You know what I've been through all these years. President Fu, stop wasting your breath. I interrupted him, my tone cold. Between us, it's already over. When you abandoned me at the hospital 5 years ago, we were even. Now, I'm only Yichen, not your Mu Chenhuan. As for Nian Nian, he's my son, and has nothing to do with you. No, it's impossible, Fu Jingshan said excitedly. Nian Nian is my son. I have the right to know about him. Chenhuan, won't you come back? Let's start over. I'll make it up to you and Nian Nian. Start over. I couldn't help but. The laughter full of irony and disdain. Fu Jingshan, do you think I'm stupid? 5 years ago you abandoned me, and 5 years later you say start over, and I should return to you. Do you think that's possible? Chenhuan, I know I was wrong. I really know I was wrong. Fu Jingshan's voice carried a hint of sobbing. It was my momentary madness back then. I am sorry for you. Can you give me one more chance, okay? I will take good care of you and Nian Nian. Chance, I said coldly. I gave you a chance. You didn't treasure it yourself. Fu Jingshan, from the moment you chose Bai Ruoxi, you have already lost me and Nian Nian. In the future, don't call me again, otherwise, I don't mind letting you and your Fu group die faster. After speaking, I hung up directly and added this number to the blacklist. I don't want any more involvement with Fu Jingshan. His current repentance and pleadings, in my view, are utterly ridiculous. Nian Nian leaned in my arms and whispered, Mom, is that bad daddy who called you? I touched his head and nodded. Yeah, it's him, but Mom has already scolded him away. Great, Nian Nian said happily. I don't want a bad dad. I only want Mom. I held Nian Nian, a warm current rising in my heart. With Nian Nian by my side, I have endless strength. No matter how much Fu Jingshan and the Fu family cause trouble, I won't be afraid. I will take it step by step and carry out my plan for revenge, making them pay the price for what they have done. Not long after I hung up with Fu Jingshan, Qin Feng delivered the black material about Bai Ruoxi that he had gathered. Right in front of me, a thick stack of documents, covering her biological family and all the various misdeeds she and Fu Jingshan had after they got together. I flipped through them casually, the cold smile at the corner of my mouth growing stronger. This woman really is quite good at hiding. Night Chief, this is the core evidence that Bai Ruoxi is pretending to be pregnant. Qin Feng handed over a hospital examination report. And a recording as well. We found that Bai Ruoxi was not pregnant at all. The pregnancy test in her hand is forged. This recording is a call between her and her best friend, in which she details how she forged the pregnancy test and how she deceived Fu Jingshan and Grand Madame Fu. I took the examination report and studied it carefully. The report clearly states that Bai Ruoxi has no signs of pregnancy recently, and all bodily indicators are normal. I opened the recording again, and Bai Ruoxi's proud voice came through. You don't know, that fool Fu Jingshan. As soon as he heard I was pregnant, treated me incredibly well. Grand Madame Fu even treats me like a precious gemstone, spoiling me in every way. Once I sit securely as Mrs. Fu, secure the Fu family's wealth, I'll find a chance to wrap up this fake pregnancy plot, and even if they find out the truth later, there'll be nothing they can do to me. About Mu Chenhuan, you really plan to let it go like this? Her best friend's voice asked. Let it go? No way. Bai Ruoxi's voice grew sinister. If it weren't for my scheme back then to drive her away, how could Mrs. Fu's position be mine? But I've heard she's back now, and turned into some Night Shadow Group president. What was he called? Yi Huan. Even if she's back, so what? I'm Mrs. Fu now. She can't beat me. Once I get the Fu family's fortune, I will make her pay the price, make her understand that taking a man from me has the worst possible ending. After listening to the recording, my gaze turned cold. Indeed, back then I was driven away not because Fu Jingshan was momentarily confused, but because this woman had carefully crafted a plot. Well done. I put away the inspection report and the recording, and said to Qin Feng, go arrange it. There will be a family gathering at the Fu family tomorrow. Bai Ruoxi and the Fu old madam will both attend. At that time, you can accidentally leak these pieces of evidence. Understood? Qin Feng nodded. I will have our people blend in to ensure that the evidence can be delivered accurately and without mistake into the hands of Fu Jingshan and Mrs. Fu, additionally, reveal the evidence that Bai Ruoshi has embezzled public funds of the Fu Group over the years, and that she privately transferred Fu family assets. I added, I want her to be utterly ruined within the Fu family. Yes, Knight Captain, Qin Feng replied, turning to go down to arrange the work. The next evening, the Fu family's family dinner was held at the Fu family's old residence. I didn't go in person, but had Qin Feng keep watch in the shadows, ready to report to me at any time. Around 8 o'clock in the evening, Qin Feng's phone rang. Knight Captain, everything is going according to plan. Our people have already delivered the evidence into the hands of Fu Jingshan and Madame Fu, and now the Fu family's old residence is in complete chaos. Oh, tell me in detail. I leaned on the sofa, speaking softly. Our people pretended to be waiters, and when serving Madame Fu, they accidentally dropped the examination report and the voice recorder on the floor. Madame Fu picked them up and, upon seeing that the report belonged to Bai Ruoshi, exclaimed in anger on the spot. Fu Jingshan heard Bai Ruoshi's voice in the recording, his face turning ashen, questioning whether Bai Ruoshi was truly pretending to be pregnant. Qin Feng's voice carried a hint of a smile. Bai Ruoshi initially tried to argue, saying our people deliberately framed her, but when Fu Jingshan produced evidence of her embezzling company funds and transferring assets, she panicked completely and couldn't utter a single word. What about Madame Fu's reaction? I asked. Madame Fu trembled with anger, and on the spot she slapped Bai Ruoshi, calling her a liar and saying she should be driven out of the Fu family. Qin Feng said, now everyone in the Fu family is blaming Bai Ruoshi, and the scene is extremely chaotic. Very good. I nodded with satisfaction. Let our people keep watching. Report to me immediately if anything comes up. After hanging up the phone, I glanced at Nian Nian, who was playing with blocks nearby, and smiled. Nian Nian, Mom has some good news for you. That bad woman will be punished soon. Nian Nian looked up, eyes bright. Really, Mom? Of course it's true. I walked over, sat beside him, and patted his head. That bad woman deceived people in the Fu family, and now everyone in the Fu family knows her true colors. They won't believe her anymore. Nian Nian clapped his hands happily. Great, then she won't be able to bully Mom anymore. I smiled a little and stayed silent. This is only the beginning. Bai Ruoshi's punishment has far from ended. Not long after, Qin Feng's phone rang again. Yazong, Fu Jingshan just called you. Your number is on the blacklist and unreachable. He also had his assistant call you. The assistant said you were not convenient to answer. Fu Jingshan has now left the Fu family's old residence. Looks like he's going to find you. To find me. I raised an eyebrow. What does he want with me? Probably to verify Bai Ruoshi's matter with you, or to ask for your forgiveness. Qin Feng said. Let him come, I said, even tone. I want to see what he wants to tell me. Half an hour later, the villa's doorbell rang. Qin Feng went to answer. Indeed it was Fu Jingshan. He wore casual clothes, his hair messy, his eyes bloodshot, looking very exhausted. Fu Jingshan came in and immediately saw me and Nian Nian. His gaze fell on Nian Nian, complex, stunned, guilty, and a hint of longing. Qinhuan, Fu Jingshan's voice was hoarse. Are those evidence all real? Did Bai Ruoshi really fake her pregnancy and arrange to drive you away? I didn't answer his question. I merely said softly, General Fu, there's nothing more to say between us. If you came for Bai Ruoshi, you can leave. I didn't come for her. Fu Jingshan shook his head, walked up to me, and his eyes were filled with guilt. Qinhuan, I know I was wrong. I really know I was wrong. I shouldn't have believed Bai Ruoshi. Shouldn't have abandoned you and Nian Nian. Give me one more chance, okay? I will make it up to you and Nian Nian. Make it up, I sneered. Fu Jingshan, do you think it's useful to say make it up now? 5 years ago, when I was pregnant with Nian Nian and suffering alone in the hospital, where were you? I was driven away by Bai Ruoshi and left homeless. Where were you? I carried Nian Nian abroad and endured hardships. Where were you then? Fu Jingshan was left speechless by my questions, his face full of guilt and self-blame. Back then I was blinded by Bai Ruoshi. I thought she was truly kind to me. I thought you were just making a scene. Qinhuan, I really know I was wrong. Give me one more chance. I'll take good care of you and Nian Nian, and never let you suffer any more. Opportunity, I said coldly. I gave you a chance already. It's you who doesn't treasure it. Fu Jingshan, what you're saying now is only because Bai Ruoshi's true face has been exposed. You think she has no value to use, so you remembered me and Nian Nian. Let me tell you, it's too late. Nian Nian and I don't need your compensation, nor your care. No, Qinhuan, that's not what I mean, Fu Jingshan hurriedly said. I truly want to make it up to you and Nian Nian. I have already driven Bai Ruoxi out of the Fu family. I have frozen all her assets, so she pays for what she has done. Qinhuan, just believe in me one more time, okay? Drive her out of the Fu family, freeze her assets. I laughed. The laughter full of scorn. Fu Jingshan, do you think this is enough? She hurt me, she hurt Nian Nian. Everything she did can't be redeemed simply by driving her out of the Fu family and freezing her assets. I want her to pay a much heavier price. At that moment, Nian Nian walked up to Fu Jingshan, tilting her small face up, coldly saying, don't come to trouble my mom anymore. My mom doesn't need you, and I don't need you, bad dad. You should go. Fu Jingshan looked at Nian Nian, his eyes full of pain and self-blame. He reached out to touch Nian Nian's head, but Nian Nian dodged away. Nian Nian, I'm your dad. Fu Jingshan's voice carried a hint of a crying voice. I don't have a dad like you, Nian Nian shouted. My dad is a bad man. He abandoned me and mom, and he was deceived by another woman. I am ashamed for you. Fu Jingshan was deeply hurt by Nian Nian's words. He staggered back a few steps, his face pale. He looked at me, his eyes filled with despair. Qinhuan, even Nian Nian won't forgive me. It's not that we refuse to forgive you, it's that you aren't worthy of our forgiveness, I said coldly. Fu Jingshan, you may leave. From now on, don't appear before me and Nian Nian again, otherwise, I don't mind letting you and your Fu group disappear together. Fu Jingshan knew I wasn't joking. He looked at me and Nian Nian, his eyes filled with pain and reluctance, yet powerless to change anything. In the end, he turned around and left the villa in a desolate state. Watching Fu Jingshan's retreating figure, I felt no ripple of emotion in my heart. His pain and self-blame, to me, were utterly ridiculous. When he chose to abandon us back then, he should have foreseen today's ending. Mom, that bad daddy has left. Nian Nian came to my side and tugged at my hand. I picked up Nian Nian, kissed him on his small face, and smiled. He's gone. From now on, no one will disturb us again. At this moment, Qin Feng walked in and respectfully said, Night Chief. Message from the Fu family. After being driven out of the Fu family, Bai Ruoxi was not satisfied and went to disrupt the Fu group, exposing the misdeeds of Fu Jingshan and old Madame Fu. Now the Fu group's stock price has fallen again, and many partners have begun to terminate their cooperation. Very good, I nodded with satisfaction. This is the perfect time for us to acquire Fu group shares. Qin Feng. Arrange it immediately, increase the acquisition effort, and strive to obtain over 5% of Fu Group's shares as soon as possible. Yes, Night Chief, Qin Feng nodded. I've already prepared the team. We can start at any time. Also, gather more information about Fu Yanzhou, I said. He has always sought to seize control of the Fu family group. There must be collusion between him and Bai Ruoxi. Collecting his details could prove valuable at a critical moment. Understood. Qin Feng replied before turning to carry out his tasks. I walked to the window with Nian Nian in my arms, gazing at the night view outside. Bai Ruoxi had already fallen from grace, and Fu Jingshan had experienced pain and despair firsthand, but that wasn't enough. I wanted them to collapse completely, to pay the most devastating price for their actions. Fu Yanzhou, Old Lady Fu, and all those who once helped them bully me, none of them will escape. I will continue this game of revenge until every enemy receives the punishment they deserve. Mom, we will get better and better in the future. Right, Nian Nian leaned into my arms and whispered softly. I held Nian Nian tightly and said firmly, yes, we will get better and better in the future. Mom will let you live the best life, and make everyone who has bullied us very, very regret it. After Fu Jingshan left the villa, he seemed to be completely obsessed. Early the next morning, just before dawn, I was woken by the commotion at the villa gate. Qin Feng came in to report that Fu Jingshan was at the door with a big bouquet of red roses, waiting there all night. Yi Zong, President Fu insists on meeting you, and says he wants to apologize to you in person. Qin Feng's tone carried a hint of helplessness. I had security try to persuade him, but he wouldn't go. He said if he can't see you, he will wait there forever. I frowned, filled with annoyance. This Fu Jingshan really haunts me like a ghost. I walked to the window, pulled back a corner of the curtain, and sure enough I saw Fu Jingshan standing at the gate of the Villa, wearing yesterday's casual outfit. His hair was even messier, the red veins under his eyes more obvious, gripping tightly the bouquet of red roses that had withered a bit, looking extremely down and out. Don't mind him, I said coldly, let him stay in guard. When he's guarded enough, he'll naturally leave. Yes, night supervisor. Chin Feng nodded, then turned and stepped out. After I finished washing up and finished breakfast with Nian Nian, Fu Jingshan was still guarding at the door. During that time, he kept calling my phone, and although the number was blocked, he tried again with more than a dozen unfamiliar numbers, all of which were blocked by Chin Feng. Mom, is that bad daddy still outside? Nian Nian bit the small spoon, whispering, I patted his head, but there's no need to be afraid, he can't get in and he can't hurt us. Nian Nian nodded and continued to eat with her head down, but not long after. The villa doorbell rang urgently again. Chin Feng went to answer the door and came back with a somewhat sour expression. Night boss, President Fu says he knows he was wrong and is willing to do anything for you, just hoping you can forgive him. He also said that if you don't forgive him, he will kneel at the door and not get up. He is willing to kneel, then let him kneel, I said calmly, as if talking about something trivial. All of what Fu Jingshan is doing now, to me, seems futile. When he hurt me back then, how did he not think about today? Sure enough, it didn't take long before security personnel came to report that Fu Jingshan really knelt at the gate of the villa. Neighbors passing by had gathered around, pointing and whispering among themselves. I sneered, pulled out my phone, and sent a message to Chin Feng, make him kneel. Also, take a photo of him kneeling at the door and post it online. I want everyone to see how humble and begging the president of the Fu Group is to win back a wife he abandoned. Chin Feng replied quickly with understood. It wasn't long before the photo of Fu Jingshan kneeling at the villa gate was posted online. In an instant, it caused an uproar. Topics like hashtag Fu Group President humbles to pursue wife hashtag and hashtag Fu Jingshan regrets abandoning pregnant wife hashtag quickly shot to the top of the hot search. Netizens debated heatedly. Some cursed Fu Jingshan as a scumbag who deserved this. Others sympathized with my situation and supported my decision not to forgive him. And still others mocked him as getting what he deserved. Fu Group's stock price fell quite a bit because of this. Fu Jingshan obviously also learned that the photo was posted online. He looked up and gazed toward the second floor of the villa, his eyes full of pain and despair, but he didn't stand up. He remained kneeling there. I didn't even glance at him, staying in the living room with Nian Nian as she played with building blocks. I felt no pity for Fu Jingshan's suffering. This was all he deserved. Around noon, it suddenly started to rain heavily. The rain, like beans, pelted onto Fu Jingshan, soaking him through, yet he still knelt there, motionless, like a statue. Chin Feng felt a bit reluctant. He stepped in and said, Yezong, the rain's too heavy now. If President Fu keeps kneeling like this, something might go wrong. Do you want to? Even if something goes wrong, it's all his own doing. I cut him off, speaking coldly. Chin Feng, remember, when he abandoned me back then, he never thought about whether I would get into trouble. Everything now is what he owes me. Chin Feng nodded, no longer speaking, turned around and stepped out. The rain was falling harder, Fu Jingshan's face growing paler, his body starting to tremble slightly. The surrounding neighbors had dispersed. No one was willing to watch the show in the heavy rain anymore. At that moment, a black sedan stopped at the villa's gate. Fu Yanzhou stepped out of the car, holding an umbrella, and walked to Fu Jingshan's side, his tone laced with a hint of mockery. Brother, what are you doing? For a woman, you've made yourself this miserable. Is it worth it? Fu Jingshan looked up at Fu Yuzhou, his voice hoarse as he said, don't mind me. If Qinhuan won't forgive me, I'll just stay here kneeling. Forgive you? Fu Yuzhou sneered. Brother, you're too naive. Mu Qinhuan is now the president of the Night Shadow Group, worth billions. How could she forgive you, someone who abandoned her? I think you should get up quickly and stop making a fool of yourself here. I won't get up, Fu Jingshan insisted. Qinhuan will forgive me. She will definitely forgive me. Fu Yuzhou shook his head, no longer trying to persuade him, turned around and got back into the car, and drove away. Fu Jingshan knelt there in the heavy rain for a full afternoon. It was not until dusk, when the rain stopped, that he collapsed at the villa door from exhaustion. Chin Feng took him to the hospital, then came back to report to me, night manager, Mr. Fu fainted. The doctor said it was due to prolonged exposure to rain, plus Emotional agitation, which triggered acute pneumonia. He needs to be hospitalized. I understand, I said lightly, with no reaction. After Fu Jingshan was hospitalized, he did not give up on pursuing his wife. In the hospital, every day he had his assistant bring me all kinds of expensive gifts, from jewelry to designer handbags, everything you could imagine, but I had Qin Feng return all of these gifts intact. Not only that, he also has his assistant send me a lot of messages every day, all of them his confessions and promises. He says he will transfer the shares of the Fu family group to me in Yen, that he will spend the rest of his life making up for us, and that he really cannot live without us. I never replied to his messages, not even a glance, and I just deleted them that day. I took Yen to the mall to shop. As soon as we stepped out of the mall doors, I saw Fu Jingshan standing not far away. He had just been discharged from the hospital, his complexion still very pale, wearing a thick coat, looking extremely weak. Fu Jingshan saw Nai and Manian, Nyen, and his eyes lit up. He walked over quickly. He wanted to get close to Nyen, but I stopped him with a grip. Fu Jingshan, don't push your luck, I said coldly. I've already told you, this between us ended a long time ago. Don't entangle us anymore. Qinghuan, I don't want to entangle you. Fu Jingshan's voice was hoarse. I just want to see Nyen more, to talk to him. He is also my son. I have the right to care about him. You do not have that right, I said coldly. When you abandoned us back then, you gave up that right. Nyen doesn't need a father like you. You should leave. Qinghuan, I know I was wrong. I really know I was wrong. Fu Jingshan's eyes turned red, with a hint of a cry in his voice. Just give me one more chance, okay? I will take good care of you and Nyen, and never let you suffer any more. Opportunity. I laughed, the laugh full of sarcasm. Fu Jingshan, you think you can still say opportunity now and it's useful. Let me tell you, it's too late. Even if all the men in the world were dead, I would never be with you again. Nyen also hid behind me, poked her little head out, and made a face at Fu Jingshan. Bad dad, you go away, we don't like you. Fu Jingshan was deeply stung by what Nyen and I said. He stumbled back a few steps, his face turning even paler. He looked at me, his eyes filled with despair. Qinghuan, do you really hate me that much? Yes, I said without hesitation. I hate you. I hate your indifference and callousness back then. I hate that you made Nyen and me suffer so much. I will never forgive you in my entire life. After finishing speaking, I no longer glanced at Fu Jingshan, held Nyen's hand, and turned to leave. Fu Jingshan stood in place, watching our backs. Tears finally couldn't hold back and fell. He knew he had truly lost me and Nyen. Back at the villa, Qin Feng walked in and respectfully said, Yi Zong, there's news from the Fu group. Fu Yuzhou has been quietly poaching shareholders while Mr. Fu is hospitalized, aiming to seize control of the Fu group. Many shareholders have started to waver because of Mr. Fu's recent scandal. Oh, I raised an eyebrow, a cold smile tugging at the corner of my mouth. This is good news. Qin Feng, arrange it immediately and intensify the acquisition of shares in the Fu group. At the same time, leak the black materials we've gathered about Fu Yanzhou to Fu Jingshan. Accidentally, I want the two brothers to turn on each other. Understood. Qin Feng nodded. I'll go arrange it now. After Qin Feng left, I walked to the window and looked at the night view outside. Fu Jingshan's pursuit of his wife is, in my opinion, just a ridiculous farce. His current pain and despair cannot atone for the injuries that Nyen and I suffered in the past. If Fu Yanzhou wants to seize control of the Fu group, then let them fight it out. I'll sit back and watch the tiger fight, and when they injure each other to the point of total collapse, I'll step in to clean up the mess. By then, the Fu group will have completely fallen into my hands. Mom, we'll never see that bad dad again, right? Nyen walked over to me and tugged at my hand. I picked up Nyen, kissed him on his chubby little face, and smiled, saying, yes, we will never see him again in the future. Mommy will protect you and make you happy forever. The day after exposing Fu Yanzhou's dirty laundry to Fu Jingshan, Qin Feng brought me a predictable bit of news. Fu Jingshan was indeed hooked. He not only rushed back to the Fu group to stabilize the shareholders, but also tore his face completely with Fu Yanzhou. The two brothers fought so fiercely that the company was in chaos. I was just helping Nyen build a Lego set, listening to Qin Feng's report, and a faint smile curved at the corner of my mouth. The more intensely these two brothers fought, the more advantageous it was for me. Once they ruin each other, I could seize the Fu group effortlessly, but my moment of happiness didn't last long. Qin Feng's expression turned grim, and his tone was heavy as he said, "Boss Yi, there is one more piece of news, Mr. Fu." He filed a lawsuit in court, aiming to contest Master Nian Nian's custody. Fighting for custody, the Lego bricks in my hand fell to the ground with a clatter, and my gaze instantly turned cold. This Fu Jingshan really is a lingering ghost, not getting me himself. He actually wants to take someone who is thinking about him. Mom, what is custody? Nian Nian raised her head, blinking her innocent big eyes and asking. I crouched down, pulled Nian Nian into my arms, gently stroked his head, and said softly, "It's that bad father who tried to take you away from your mother, but don't worry, Mom will never let him succeed." Nian Nian clung tightly to my neck and whispered, "Mom, I don't want to go with the bad dad. I want to stay with Mom forever, okay? Mom promised you, she will absolutely not let him take you away," I said firmly, but inside I was already furious. "Fu Jingshan, you really crossed my bottom line. Since you insist on walking into a dead end, I will grant you your wish. Qin Feng, contact the best legal team immediately." I stood up, my eyes sharp. I want Fu Jingshan to know that fighting for Nanshan's custody is the worst decision he has ever made in this life. Also, gather all the evidence we have that Fu Jingshan is unfit to raise a child, and hand it to the lawyers. Yes, Chief Knight. Qin Feng nodded. I have already contacted the top divorce law firm in the country. They are on their way now. I will also organize the evidence as quickly as possible. 3 days later, the court opened. I wore a black professional suit, holding Nanshan's hand, under the accompaniment of the legal team, walked into the courtroom. Fu Jingshan was also there. He wore a gray suit, with his lawyer and Madame Fu by his side. Madame Fu, at the sight of me, had a look in her eyes as if she wanted to eat someone, and she said viciously, "Mu Qinghuan, you woman, you abandoned your husband and child back then, and now you still have the face to occupy Nian Nian and not let go. Today, we must take Nian Nian back to the Fu family." "Abandon your husband and child?" I sneered. "Old madam, talk with evidence. Back then, who abandoned whom? Who was driven away by Ruashi's schemes? Aren't you clear in your heart? I think the one who should occupy the child is your Fu family, right? You're talking nonsense." Old Madame Fu trembled with anger. "It was you who walked away. You dare to invert black and white here. Whether I invert black and white, the court will decide." I no longer paid attention to old Madame Fu, and, holding Nian Nian, walked to the plaintiff's seat and sat down across from it. The trial began. Fu Jingshan's lawyer spoke first, presenting a series of so-called evidence, which essentially showed that Fu Jingshan had money and power, and could give Nian Nian a better life, and also claimed that I abandoned Fu Jingshan back then and didn't fulfill a mother's responsibility. Fu Jingshan also stood up, his tone carrying a hint of choking as he said, "Your Honor, I know I was in the wrong back then. I shouldn't have abandoned Qinghuan and Nian Nian, but I truly know I was wrong now, and I want to make amends for them. I have the means to support Nian Nian and give him the best education and the best life. Please, Your Honor, grant me custody of Nian Nian." Watching Fu Jingshan put on airs, I almost felt nauseated. Did he think a bit of pity could win the judge's sympathy? It's really naive. It was my attorney's turn to speak. My lawyer directly produced my prenatal test results from back then, the hospital visit records, and even the evidence that Ruashi set up to trap me, including that recording. The lawyer spoke to the judge. "Your Honor, the evidence is enough to prove that my client did not leave Mr. Fu of her own accord back then, but was framed and forced to leave by Mr. Fu's lover Ruashi. Moreover, after my client left, Mr. Fu not only did not search for her and their child, but instead ran off with Ruashi and neglected his biological son. For 5 years, my client has been the sole caregiver for the child, giving him ample love and a good education." The lawyer, finishing speaking, also produced years of Fu Jingshan's bad records, including photos of him drinking, staying up late, and having ambiguous relations with other women, as well as news reports that he neglected work due to Ruashi, causing crises at the Fu group. "Your Honor, although Mr. Fu is rich and powerful, he is not fit to raise a child." The lawyer continued. "He has a violent temper, emotional instability, and unhealthy habits. Moreover, all these years he has been busy with work and romantic entanglements, with no time or energy to care for a child. By contrast, my client has stable income, plenty of time to accompany the child, and the child has been living with her, forming a deep bond. Awarding custody to my client is the most beneficial for the child." Fu Jingshan's face grew paler, and he shouted, "This isn't true. I don't drink, and I don't have ambiguous relations with other women. All of this is false. Mu Qinghuan is framing me. Whether it's true or not, the evidence speaks for itself, my lawyer said coldly. These photos and news reports are real and credible, with traceable clues. The judge looked at Fu Jingshan, then at me, and asked, Ms. Mu Qinghuan, do you have anything to add? I stood up, walked to the center of the courtroom, and fixed my gaze on the judge. Your Honor, I'd like to add a few points. First, for the past 5 years, Nian has lived with me. We mother and son rely on each other for support. Nian cannot be. Note, this line contains Chinese characters that should be translated. Assume it means without me and I cannot be without Nian. Keep meaning. Nian cannot be without me, and I cannot be without Nian. Second, when Fu Jingshan abandoned me back then, he did not consider the lives of me and Nian at all. Now he wants to fight for custody, but it's only because his relationship with Bai Ruoxi has collapsed, and he's looking for a spiritual sponsorship. Third, I have enough ability to raise Nian. I can give Nian the best life and education, I swear to the judge. I will devote my life to protecting my child. After I finished speaking, I looked at Fu Jingshan again and spoke icily. Fu Jingshan, do you think a few words of remorse now can make up for the harm you've caused me and Nian? Do you think money can buy everything? I tell you, it's impossible. Nian is my life. No one can take him away from me. Just then, Nian suddenly stood up, walked to the judge, and with a serious expression, lifted her small face and said, Judge, I don't want to go with the bad dad. The bad dad used to bully Mom, and now he wants to take me away from Mom again. I want to be with Mom. Mom is the best mom in the world. Nian's words silenced everyone in the courtroom. Fu Jingshan's face turned white, and Mrs. Fu Old Aunt lowered her head, not daring to look at Nian again. The judge looked at Nian, his eyes filled with compassion. He nodded, then tapped the gavel. Silence. After the court's hearing and investigation, the following judgment is pronounced. The plaintiff, Fu Jingshan, requests custody of Mu Nianshan, son of Mu Qinghuan. Lacking factual and legal basis, this court does not support it. The defendant, Mu Qinghuan, holds full custody of Mu Nianshan, and the plaintiff Fu Jingshan has no right to interfere. In addition, the plaintiff Fu Jingshan is required to pay monthly child support of 50,000 yuan until Mu Nianshan reaches the age of 18. Hearing the judgment, I was so excited that tears nearly fell. I won. I have finally secured Mu Nianshan's custody. Fu Jingshan sat paralyzed in the chair, his eyes filled with despair. Old Mrs. Fu stood up in a fit of anger, pointing at the judge and saying, This judge, have you taken benefits from Mu Qinghuan? How can you judge like this? I object. I want to appeal. Old madam, please mind your words and actions. The judge said coldly, The verdict of this court is fair and just, based on facts and the law. If you are dissatisfied, you may appeal within the prescribed time, but I tell you, even if you appeal, the result will be the same. Old Mrs. Fu wanted to say more, but Fu Jingshan pulled her back. Fu Jingshan shook his head, his eyes full of fatigue and despair. He knew that even if they appealed, he wouldn't win. After the trial, I held Nian's hand and walked out of the courtroom. The sunlight shone on us, warm and dazzling. Nian happily hopped up, hugged my neck, and planted a kiss on my face. Mom, we won. We don't have to be apart anymore. Yeah, we won. We don't have to part ways anymore. I hugged Nian, and the tears finally couldn't be held back. These were tears of joy, tears of relief. Qin Feng walked over and said respectfully, Knight C, congratulations to you. Thank you, Qin Feng. I wiped away my tears and smiled. You've worked hard these days. That's what I should do. Knight C, Qin Feng said. By the way, Knight C, there is news from Fu Yanzhou's side. He took advantage of President Fu's defeat in court, his mood sinking, and has started seizing power inside the Fu group. Many shareholders have already defected to Fu Yanzhou. Oh, I raised an eyebrow, a cold smile curving at the corner of my mouth. Perfect timing. Qin Feng, you immediately arrange it. Stop acquiring Fu's group shares. We're not in a rush to act right now. First let Fu Yanzhou and Fu Jingshan fight to the death. When they've fought long enough, we'll reap the benefits as bystanders. Understood. Qin Feng nodded. I'll arrange it right away. I held Nian and got into the car. The car slowly pulled away from the courthouse. I looked at the street scenery outside the window, feeling a sense of relief. The custody battle, I won. This is not only a victory for me and Nian Nian, but also another heavy blow to Fu Jingshan. Fu Jingshan, do you think winning the custody battle can bind me? You're too naive, I tell you. Even if you win the case, I won't let you have your way. I will make you pay a heavier price for what you did back then, in my own way. Mom, can we go eat something tasty? Now, Nian Nian leaned in my arms and whispered. I lowered my head and gave his little face a kiss, smiling. Of course, what do you want to eat? Mom will take you there. I want a hamburger, Nian Nian said happily. Okay, let's go eat hamburgers, I said with a smile. Looking at Nian Nian's happy smiling face, I secretly vowed in my heart that I will make sure he stays this happy and joyful forever, and never again suffers any hurt. The car sped toward the hamburger shop, sunlight streaming through the window and warming us wonderfully. I know this revenge game isn't over yet, but I am confident I will win in the end. Fu Jingshan, Fu Yanzhou, Madam Fu, you wait and see. I'll step on all of you bit by bit, making you pay the price for what you have done. A few days after the custody battle ended, the internal strife within the Fu group finally came into the open. Qin Feng reported the latest developments to me every day, and I felt elated. Fu Yanzhou is indeed ruthless. He not only allied with several of Fu Jingshan's fiercest shareholder rivals, but also embellished the black material I had leaked to him and fed it to the media. Suddenly, negative headlines such as Fu Group President Fu Jingshan accused of embezzlement and Fu Jingshan's chaotic personal life damages the company's image swamped the media. The Fu Group's stock price plummeted like a roller coaster, breaking the all-time low. Many partners terminated contracts, banks pressed for loan repayments, and the Fu Group found itself in an unprecedented crisis. I sat in the study of the villa, watching Qin Feng hand me the latest Fu Group financial report, a cold smile tugging at the corners of my mouth. In the past few years, Fu Jingshan had only cared about romantic entanglements, and he had already reduced the Fu Group to tatters. Now, with Fu Yanzhou stirring things up, it was even worse. Mom, you're reading those dense, tiny characters again. Nian Nian ran over with a transformer toy, lifting her little face and asking. I put down the report, picked him up onto my lap, and smiled. Yes, Mommy is looking at whether the villain's company is going to be doomed. Wonderful, Nian Nian clapped happily. If the villain's company goes bankrupt, they can't bully Mommy anymore. I patted his head, a softness flooding my heart. Yes, once the Fu Group collapses completely, those who have bullied us, mother and son, will never stir up any trouble again. Just then, Qin Feng's phone rang. His tone urgent. Night boss, the Fu Group held an emergency shareholders meeting today. Fu Yanzhou is trying to force Fu Jingshan to abdicate. Oh, so fast. I raised an eyebrow. Keep our people closely watching and report any developments at any time. Yes, night boss, Qin Feng acknowledged and hung up. I walked with Nian Nian to the window and looked at the sunshine outside. This brotherly betrayal drama is finally reaching its climax. Fu Jingshan, Fu Yanzhou, you two go on fighting. The fiercer you fight, the lighter it will be for me. When I cast my net, not long after, Qin Feng sent a message. At the shareholders' meeting, Fu Yanzhou produced the so-called evidence that Fu Jingshan harmed the company's interests, and, with the support of most shareholders, demanded Fu Jingshan resign as president to be succeeded by him. Fu Jingshan immediately argued with Fu Yanzhou on the spot, the brothers accusing each other and exposing the family's sordid affairs. Fu Yanzhou, you ingrate, if it weren't for me, could you have the status you have today? Fu Jingshan's voice, transmitted through the recording Qin Feng sent, was filled with anger and despair. Brother, you still have the nerve to say that. Fu Yanzhou's voice carried a trace of sarcasm. All these years, what have you done to the Fu Group? If I hadn't stepped in time, the Fu Group would have collapsed long ago. I am saving the Fu Group, saving the Fu Group. I think you want to seize power for yourself. Fu Jingshan shouted angrily. All those pieces of evidence are forged by you. Do you think I can't tell, whether it's forged or not? The shareholders have the final say, Fu Yanzhou said with a cold laugh. Dear shareholders, Fu Jingshan has no ability to lead the Fu Group any longer. Only I can revive the Fu Group. The recording ends here. Qin Feng sent a message saying that in the end, most shareholders voted in favor. Fu Jingshan was ousted from the presidency, and Fu Yanzhou formally took over. Fu Jingshan fainted on the spot and was sent to the hospital. Night 0. Right now the Fu Group is leaderless. Although Fu Yanzhou has taken over as president, many shareholders are not willing to follow him. This is the best time for us to act. Qin Feng's voice carried a hint of excitement. I nodded, my tone firm. Qin Feng, arrange it immediately. Start the final acquisition plan. Mobilize all funds from the Night Shadow Group to acquire all remaining shares of the Fu Group. I want the Fu Group to become a subsidiary of the Night Shadow Group. Completely understood, Qin Feng responded, then immediately went down to arrange the work. In the next few days, the business world of Yunhai City simmered with excitement. The Night Shadow Group suddenly moved, and with astonishing speed, acquired all of the remaining circulating shares of the Fu Group. By the time Fu Yanzhou reacted, the Night Shadow Group already held 60% of Fu Group's shares, becoming the largest shareholder of Fu Group. Fu Yanzhou, furious and flustered, convened a shareholders' meeting in an attempt to turn the situation around, but as soon as he opened his mouth, Qin Feng walked into the conference room with my authorization letter. Dear shareholders, hello everyone. Qin Feng placed the power of attorney on the conference table and spoke in a calm tone. I am Qin Feng, the special assistant of the Night Shadow Group, on behalf of our president Yi Huan. I am here to oversee the subsequent work of Fu Group. Now, Lady Yi Huan holds 60% of Fu Group's shares, possessing absolute control. From today onward, Fu Group is officially merged into the Night Shadow Group, and all business will be managed uniformly by the Night Shadow Group. What? Fu Yanzhou's face turned ashen, unbelieving, and he said, Impossible. How could you possibly acquire so many shares? President Fu, the market is a battlefield. Strength decides everything, Qin Feng said coldly. You think you can outfight Fu Jingshan and sit securely as president of the Fu Group? You are too naive. The shareholders were stunned as well, buzzing with discussion. They did not expect that the Night Shadow Group would suddenly strike, and that their first move would be a deadly blow. Many shareholders swayed with the wind, immediately expressing their support for the decision of the Night Shadow Group. After all, the Night Shadow Group is powerful, and following them is the surest way to safeguard their interests. Fu Yanzhou looked at everything before him and fell into complete despair. He had gone to great lengths, defeated Fu Jingshan in the struggle, only to end up making a wedding dress for someone else in the end. He staggered back a few steps, slumped into a chair, and his eyes were full of unwillingness and remorse. Qin Feng quickly gained control of all the businesses of the Fu Group and carried out a comprehensive reform of the company. Those who once joined Fu Jingshan and Fu Yanzhou in doing evil were cleaned out of the company one by Qin Feng. I, with Nian Nian, walked into the Fu Group's president's office. This used to be Fu Jingshan's territory. Now, it belongs to me. I sat in the president's chair, looking at the city scenery outside the window, my heart full of emotion. 5 years ago, I was abandoned by Fu Jingshan and left in a sorry state. 5 years later, as a winner, I regained everything that belonged to me. And even more. Mom, this place is so big. Nian Nian ran around in the office, saying excitedly. I smiled and said, yes, from now on this will be Mom's office. If Nian Nian wants to come and play in the future, you can come anytime. At this moment, Qin Feng walked in and respectfully said, Night Chief. Fu Jingshan woke up. He said he wants to see you. See me? I sneered. Does he still have the nerve to see me? He said there is something he wants to tell you, about what happened back then, Qin Feng said. I thought for a moment, and nodded. Let him come, I want to see what else he can say. Not long after, Fu Jingshan was pushed in a wheelchair by a nurse to the president's office. His face was deathly pale, his body weak, and he no longer had the vigor and spirit he once had. When Fu Jingshan saw me, his eyes were full of pain and remorse. He opened his mouth, his voice hoarse as he said, Qinhuan, the Fu Group, did you really acquire it? It's me. I spoke in a flat tone. So, surprised? No, not surprised, but I deserve this. Fu Jingshan shook one's head, tears fell. Qinhuan, I know I was wrong. I really know I was wrong. Back then I shouldn't have trusted Bai Ruashi's words, shouldn't have abandoned you and Nian Nian. I have nothing now. The company is gone. My brothers turned against me. My mother fell ill because of me. I really regret it. Regret, I laughed, the sound filled with ridicule. Fu Jingshan, your regret is too cheap. When Yuan and I suffered abroad, where were you? You were frolicking with Bai Ruashi, enjoying wealth and honors. Now you have nothing, and you only think of regret. Does that help? Fu Jingshan was left speechless by my question, his face full of guilt, and about what happened back then. Do you think it was only Bai Ruashi's fault? I said coldly. If it weren't for your wavering will and your pursuit of beauty, how could you be easily deceived by Bai Ruashi? If you hadn't treated me coldly and ruthlessly, how could she have had a chance? Fu Jingshan, your greatest mistake is yourself. Fu Jingshan hung his head, tears continuously falling to the ground. He knew I was right. He bore an irrefutable responsibility for what happened back then as well. Qinghuan, I know it's too late to say anything now. Fu Jingshan looked up, his eyes full of pleading. I only ask you, can you let me occasionally see Nian Nian? I know I don't deserve to be his father, but I really miss him. See Nian Nian, I said coldly. Fu Jingshan, do you think it's possible? All you've brought to Nian Nian is harm. I won't let you disrupt his life. Again, I promise, I'll just look from afar. I won't bother him, Fu Jingshan said emotionally. Qinghuan, just give me one more chance, okay? A chance. I've given you many already. You just didn't cherish it. I stood up, walked to him, and spoke icily. Fu Jingshan, from today on, there will be no more entanglements between us. Take care of yourself. After I finished speaking, I didn't look at him again. Holding Nian Yan's hand, I turned and walked out of the president's office. Fu Jingshan's cries echoed from behind me, piercing and desperate, but I felt no trace of pity. This is all he deserved. As we stepped out of the Fu group, the sunlight fell on us, warm and dazzling. Nian Yan clutched my hand tightly and whispered, Mom, we don't have to be afraid of that bad dad anymore, right? I crouched down, hugged Nian Yan, and smiled. Yes, we don't have to be afraid of him anymore. From now on, no one can bully us again. Qin Feng came over and respectfully said, Director Yi, there's another piece of news. Bai Ruoxi has been arrested by the police for suspected fraud and embezzlement. Old Mrs. Fu is also unable to bear the blow and has suffered a stroke and paralysis. Really? I raised an eyebrow, a faint smile tugging at the corners of my mouth. Good and evil will eventually be punished. They deserve this. All the enemies have received the punishment they deserve. This 5-year-long revenge has finally come to a satisfying end. I held Nian Yan and got into the car slowly drove away from the Fu Corporation, heading home. Seeing Nian Yan's joyful smile beside me, I felt a surge of happiness in my heart. Before, I lived for revenge. Now, I will live well for Nian Yan and for myself. The days to come will surely get better and better. After acquiring the Fu Group, the days finally returned to calm. I didn't rush to replace the Fu Group's signboard. Instead, I kept the name and let Qin Feng lead a comprehensive reform, rooting out those decayed management systems and injecting the innovative of the Night Shadow Group. Not long after, the Fu Group, which had been teetering on the brink of bankruptcy, regained new vitality in my hands, even more glorious than in its peak days. But I didn't devote all my energy to work. Having gone through so much, I understand more about the importance of companionship. Every morning, I personally take Nian Yan to kindergarten, watching him with his small backpack, bouncing into the classroom, greeting his friends happily. My heart fills with happiness. Bye, Mom. Nian Yan ran to the classroom door, looked back, and waved at me, his chubby face full of smiles. Bye, Nian Yan. Be good and listen to your teachers. I smiled and waved back at him until I saw his figure disappear at the classroom door. Then I turned to leave. After sending off Nian Yan, I will go to the company to handle affairs. The Fu Group today is no longer the place that was once filled with gloom and corruption. The diligent and hardworking old employees have been given important roles, the entire company has been revitalized, and everyone is full of drive. Night Manager, this is the latest profit report for the Fu Group. Qin Feng placed a report on my desk, his tone carrying a touch of relief. After a few months of reform, the company's profitability has surpassed the expected target, and many partners have come to us voluntarily, wanting to collaborate with us. I picked up the report to take a look and nodded in satisfaction. Well done, Qin Feng, you've worked hard during these days. Next, we will focus on advancing the cooperation projects with overseas companies, striving to take the Fu Group's business abroad. Understood, Qin Feng nodded. I've already arranged the team to prepare a detailed plan. Once you approve it, we can start. I put down the report, walked to the window, and looked at the sunshine outside. Once, I thought my life would be ruined by Fu Jingshan and Bai Ruoxi. Now, with my own, I have lived my own wonderful life. Revenge is not the end. Living well is. After school in the afternoon, I arrived at the kindergarten on time. Nian Yan saw me and hurried over with excitement, plunging into my arms. Mom, I picked him up and gave a kiss on his little face. Nian Yan, were you good at kindergarten today? Did you listen to the teacher? Of course I was good, Nian Yan boasted. The teacher even praised me, saying my drawing is the best. That's so, Nian Nian is truly amazing, I said with a smile. What would Nian Nian like to eat tonight? Mom will take you there. I want the sweet and sour pork ribs made by Mom, Nian Nian said softly, holding me close to her neck. Okay, Mom will make you sweet and sour pork ribs tonight, I said with a smile. When I got home, I put on an apron and went into the kitchen. Nian Nian was playing with building blocks in the living room, occasionally running to the kitchen door to check on my progress. Mom, can I help you? Nian Nian tilted her little face up and asked. Of course you can, I smiled. Then can you help Mom put the washed greens onto the plate? Yes, Nian Nian cheerfully agreed, carefully picking up the greens and placing them on the plate. Although her movements were a bit clumsy, she was very earnest. Watching Nian Nian's serious look, a warm feeling filled my heart. This is the life I want, simple and happy, no scheming, no deceit, only Nian Nian and me, accompanying each other and warming each other. Mealtime, the dining table was filled with a sumptuous spread. Nian Nian picked up a pair of chopsticks, plucked a piece of sweet and sour pork rib and put it in her mouth, happily saying, Mom's sweet and sour pork ribs are really delicious, even better than the restaurants. Then you should eat more, I said with a smile, scooping another rib for her. Just then, my phone rang. It was from an unfamiliar number. I hesitated for a moment, then answered. On the other end of the line, a strange male voice asked, May I ask if this is Miss Yi Huan? I am. May I ask who you are? I said in a calm, even tone. I am a doctor at the City First Hospital. The other party said, Mr. Fu Jingshan's condition has worsened, and we urgently need a family member's signature. We can't reach his other relatives, only you. When I heard the name Fu Jingshan, my eyes sharpened. That name hadn't appeared in my life for a long time. I'm not his family. If you can't reach his relatives, you should call the police, not contact me, I said coldly. Miss Yi Huan, we know you and Mr. Fu have a past. The doctor's tone carried a hint of pleading. Mr. Fu's condition is very critical right now. If no one signs, he could be in danger. I remained silent. Although I hated Jingshan Fu, hearing that he was in critical condition stirred mixed feelings in me. After all, he is Nian Nian's biological father. Mom, what happened? Nian Nian looked at me and whispered. I patted his head and smiled. It's nothing, Nian Nian. Go eat first. Mom will step out to make a call. I walked onto the balcony and picked up my phone again. Where is Fu Jingshan now? At the intensive care unit of City First Hospital, the doctor said. Miss Yi Huan, could you come over? I understand. I hung up, feeling a bit hesitant. Should I go, or should I not? After thinking for a long time, I decided to go, not because I still love Fu Jingshan, but because I want Nian Nian to know that even if Fu Jingshan is not good, I did not block his right to see Nian Nian. More importantly, I want Fu Jingshan to know that I have completely let go of the past. I returned to the restaurant and said to Nian Nian, Nian Nian, Mom has something to do and needs to take you out for a trip. Where are we going? Nian Nian asked. To the hospital, to meet someone, I said. It's your dad. Nian Nian paused, a hint of hesitation in her eyes. Mom, I don't want to see him. I know you don't want to see him. I crouched down, looked into his eyes, and spoke earnestly, but he is sick now, very seriously. Mom will take you to see him one last time, and after that, we won't have to think about him anymore, okay? Nian Nian thought for a moment and nodded. Okay. I took Nian Nian and drove to the City First Hospital. At the entrance of the ICU, the doctors were already waiting for us. Ms. Yi Huan, you're finally here. The doctor sighed with relief. Mr. Fu is still unconscious and needs your signature before we can proceed with the operation. I took the surgical consent form handed to me by the doctor, and I didn't even read it before signing my name, not because I care about him, but because I don't want to have any more involvement with him. After signing, I carried Nian Nian and, through the glass of the ICU, watched Fu Jingshan inside. He lay on the bed, tubes all over him, his face pale as paper, no longer the vigorous man he used to be. Mom, he looks so pitiful, Nian Nian whispered, looking at Fu Jingshan. He brought this on himself, I said in a calm voice. Nian Nian, remember, be kind, but not weak. Don't easily believe others, and don't easily hurt others, otherwise, in the end you'll only hurt yourself. Nian Nian nodded as if she understood, but not really. Mom, I remember. At that moment, Fu Jingshan suddenly opened his eyes, his gaze fixed straight on me and Nian Nian. His expression was filled with shock and guilt. His lips moved, but he could not make a sound. I ignored him, holding Nian Nian's hand and turning to leave, when I reached the end of the corridor. I paused, looked back, and glanced toward the intensive care unit. Fu Jingshan, our grievances, from today on, are completely settled. I will not hate you again, nor will I think of you. From now on, we will drift apart like mountains and rivers. Leaving the hospital, the evening breeze brushed softly against my face, carrying a touch of chill. Nian Nian held my hand tightly and whispered, "Mom, let's go home." "Okay, we're going home," I said with a smile. Holding Nian Nian's hand as we walked toward the parking lot, the car slowly pulled away from the hospital and headed toward home. Looking at Nian Nian's sleeping face beside me, I felt a sense of calm. The past grievances have completely faded away. In the days to come, I will take Nian Nian and live well, not wasting time, not wasting myself. Moonlight spilled onto the car, lighting the road ahead. I know the warm new life that belongs to us has just begun.